Too much eggnog last night?
Too much eggnog last night. I do like the Christmas version. I do like the Kevin version. I cannot get this out today. But I like the Steve version better for some reason. I think it's just I like Steve's voice and I associate Steven with BNL. And so I'm always looking for his voice. And there's just something about him singing this song that I just enjoy. But here's the thing. Steven's Jewish. And I hear this sad song about Christmas. It's from a point of view about a person who is watching Christmas. Like, throughout this song, throughout the lyrics, we have a person that is watching Christmas from the sidelines.
I can see the happy families inside. Right.
He sees the happy families inside, but only for a moment, which means he's probably driving by. He's talking about all these people. He sees people down the street. He sees the children singing. He sees the carolers coming. He hears the carolers. He sees people opening presents. None of this is about him. A lot of it sounds very, very sad. The only part of the song that sounds happy is when the carolers kick in with
the
oh yeah part. And other than that, and the other part that is interesting about this is you have, and I asked some Canadian friends of ours that were on the podcast in the past, Monster Squad Minute guys, I said, I'm missing something here. Is this like cereal box thing in the morning, like a Canadian thing? Am I missing like this is like this kind of like tradition? They're like, no, we have no idea like what that piece is coming from.
The Jimmy got a box of Frosty Flakes.
Right. So you have the like. Mr. Johnson's got a Christmas tree. He's putting it up with his family. He's got a big brown bowling ball for Christmas. Sally's got a brand new pair of skates. And Jimmy's got a box of Frosted Flakes. And he's trying to take it in stride. And he's trying to be happy about it. And he's doing the Canadian thing of like, hey, there's a special present inside. There's a special little prize. But doesn't that in some ways just kind of cry out of like, I get all these great big presents for Christmas, and the Jewish like little boys get these little tiny prizes and little tiny things, and they're trying to celebrate this day that's not something that they celebrate.
So I'm trying to. I want to jump on.
I want to go back and I want to erase that because it sounds kind of racist there for a second, but it sounds like so. I get the feeling like Jimmy is being happy. But I get the feeling like he's got this.
Maybe
like,
Jimmy's the scapegoat.
How do we know
a family that's poor?
Wait, I want to ask
like
you
a family
this.
that's
I want to ask
poor.
You this. How do we know Jimmy is Jewish? The only thing that differentiates him is his line has an "and" in front of him.
Well, we don't. We don't know that. But I'm just taking like Stephen is Jewish, right. And it could be like a person from another religion, any religion. I just thinking like Stephen is Jewish and like maybe that. But I don't get the feeling that the person that's celebrating this is part of Christmas. Like, there's no buy-in from that person and no expression about them and how they're doing with Christmas. It's all about everything that they're seeing around them.
I don't know. I'm usually the first one to jump on board with the depressing interpretation of a Christmas song, but I don't know. This feels very impressionistic to me. Like we talked about the haiku before. When I hear this, it just summons up a Rockwell painting to me, and that's all I'm seeing. And maybe I just don't want to leave that position, but
right, snow, or who was the road less traveled? It's almost like snow
Robert
falling
Frost.
on cedars. Yeah, Robert Frost. It's like a Robert Frost poem from an observed point of view.
And maybe it is.
I don't necessarily feel the sadness of this song. Usually I'm in agreement with you on these things, Tracy, but this one I don't necessarily feel where you're coming from. But I do think it's this interesting, like Mr. Johnson, Sally, and Jimmy. Like those are very like 1950s whitewashed.
Oh yeah. It's
names.
A Wonderful Life.
Totally.
Jimmy Stewart. Well,
right.
I will say this, Tracy, to back up your theory, I did know earlier that this is written in the key of C major, one of the most simple and kind of the basic it's kind of the prime major. It's the Platonic major, right? However, it does borrow from C minor at certain points. So there are very specific times in the song, in the pre-chorus and chorus especially, working up to the "Oh yeah," where you're borrowing specific notes, not just passing tones, but sometimes borrowed subdominant harmonic elements from C minor. So I would say that overall, the song, yes, it's happy, it's in a happy key, but there are these little elements of sadness woven in there. So maybe there is something to that. I don't know. I can't say.
Maybe it's just me implementing and pasting in things from, like, as you mentioned, Vince Guaraldi. Like,
yeah.
If I'm being, and there are parts of the song that very much, like, I would say, tone into that idea and sound a lot like that. Probably like nice little, what do we call them? Just like nice little nods of the head to Vince Guaraldi. But those are the parts of Charlie Brown Christmas that are kind of bittersweet in feel. Like they're that slightly sad moments of Charlie Brown Christmas. And maybe that's what I'm pulling into that, is that memory of those sad moments of that show, and therefore it's kind of painting this for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally, now that you mentioned it, it wasn't something that I initially had in mind when I was listening to it, but I could totally see it. I think we need Kevin to come on.
It's interesting, though, because it's still a very enjoyable song for me.
Kevin,
like, it's still one that I want kind of playing in the background.
Hashtag settle the argument. Join the conversation. Kevin, we know you listen. Come on, we love you.
We definitely love you, Kevin. Although there is this kind of a sad line, and I can see the happy families inside, if only for a moment. So it's definitely somebody looking on from afar.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's one of those songs that I think if we asked Kevin or Steven, tell us about this song, they would say, I really don't want to. Because I want you to read into
I want
it what you want
to
read
tell
into
me
it.
about it. So that's why we started the podcast. We're telling them about this. This is
Well,
how
yeah,
we feel, Stephen.
Well, and Steven said when we were talking to him about the flag in that interview, like, there's some things that he wants us to. He brushes broad strokes, and I think Kevin does the same. So no matter who wrote this, like, it's a broad stroke to let you kind of put yourself into it and kind of read into it.
I mean, that's just a really smart way to do anything, whether it's writing a song or a novel or anything, because I think if you leave room for interpretation, people pour themselves into it, and it's going to resonate more with them. So,
Totally.
Yeah, that could be what we're seeing here.
Yeah. And I know I went with the direction of a person that's non-religious or a different religion with this. But the other side of that would be also possibly families that are poor, and so Jimmy is kind of part of a family that's poor,
flakes, yeah.
And so and he's happy with that box of Frosted Flakes because he's like, you know what, it's something, it's great, and maybe that's kind of where that line's coming from too, or maybe there's a piece of culture there that I'm missing that I'm like, I never got cereal for breakfast. I never got cereal as a gift for Christmas.
I have to say, a nice big bowl of Frosted Flakes, slightly soggy,
washed down.
Nothing,
yeah.
Oh,
With milk
nothing
from a bag.
beats it. Oh,
nothing. As
no, I
Canadian
misspoke.
as
I
that.
did get cereal for breakfast often. I didn't get it for Christmas. I meant and I got it for breakfast on Christmas, just not as a Christmas present.
I was a kid in the 70s, so that's all we had: sugar cereal and TV. That's all we had.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you, even into the 80s and early to mid 90s, that was the case, and that was a special time to be alive.
And now we all have diabetes. Thank you.
ADHD and diabetes. Yeah.
But that's another episode.
That's another episode altogether.
I didn't know there was a diabetes song. I mean, well, we did talk. We have the connection here with the album that was sponsored for diabetes, right? So
right, exactly.
That's a whole other podcast. How the baby boomers failed all of us. Love Gen X.
It's like the one thing that Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z can agree on is F the baby boomers.
F the baby boomers.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
I'm not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not even sorry, a little bit. Whoops. It's Christmas Day. I apologize.
Yeah, for shame.
Such a happy topic on Christmas Day.
You know what you should do? Instead of the usual Yoko over the swear, put like little jingle bells.
There we go.
Make it extra festive.
I do love this song, though. Sad or no sad, it's beautiful to listen to.
Honestly, maybe that's why I like it so much. I said I like depressing music. So maybe even if I wasn't perceiving it to be, I just knew in the back of my head somewhere, like, "Ooh, this is appealing to me."
Right. It takes the edge off the glaring joy of the holiday.
Maybe,
like
right.
honestly, okay, so not to get too far down a rabbit hole here, but we've talked a little bit before about like how we interpret things and why things mean things to us or resonate with us. And so let me know if you guys have had this experience, because I remember it was like, I want to say it was All Star by Smash Mouth. Was very, I mean, obviously now it's popular in sort of a post-ironic way, but back when it first came out, it was like you couldn't escape it. That song was
on the
everywhere.
radio every 5 minutes.
And I had somebody talk about how they loved that song, and I just kind of like rolled my eyes and like, "What, you don't like that song?" And I was like, "Nobody is that happy." I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I was a millionaire rock star, I probably would be that happy. So I could be wrong, but you know.
That's funny.
Sorry, I'm looking something up.
Tracy's trying to reconstruct his notes. The FBI is looking through his hard drive.
We have the
Maybe
technology.
that's what did it.
We can rebuild them.
Have you been Skyping Edward Snowden again?
Often.
Now you're on the list, by the way. Welcome to the list.
Dear Edward Snowden, if you want to come on the podcast,
God,
we'll
please,
have you.
Please. Okay, perhaps almost more than anyone else. Edward, we know you're a big fan. Come on the show.
Because we know he's getting this message. Yeah. He is totally getting this message.
Well, definitely the people who are after him are.
Yeah, that's
NSA,
true. Okay.
NSA, we're a big fan. Come on the show.
That's right. We will give you a half-hour time slot to say whatever you want to say. What the heck?
Hey everybody, my name is Scott Schiaffo, actor best
My
known as
computer
the
is going weird on me.
Tracy's looking at porn again.
Since it's Christmas Day, we should do this shout out. Santa, if you want to come on the podcast, we'd love to have
Santa,
you.
Santa, we know you listen. We would love to have you on the podcast.
And
Or
Mrs.
Buddy.
Claus.
We'll accept Buddy.
Yeah.
Or
well,
Mrs. Claus. I would
Claus.
like to listen.
You know
Mrs.
what?
Claus.
Nobody ever interviews Mrs. Claus. I don't know how many
She's
people
a
interview
friggin'
Santa,
saint.
but
In this day of
She
memes,
puts up with his bullshit all year long.
I'm sure that
and
Mrs. Claus has a lot of
gets no
inside info
credit.
to give us about what goes down in the workshop for real. She's got the real story.
Big time.
I want to hear from
You
Mrs.
know
Claus.
she's the one making it all happen.
Oh yeah, I mean Santa works one night a year. You know what I mean?
He's the figurehead.
He's playing
She makes
Fortnite
it all
the rest
happen.
of the time. I bet you.
She probably cooks for all the elves. She
I bet you
keeps their
Santa's
morale up.
Santa Claus is ninja. He's like the best Fortnite player.
He has nothing else to do all year long.
He's just playing
and
Fortnite.
that's how he knows who's naughty and who's
Yeah,
nice.
because he hears these kids swearing at each other on chat when they're
They totally
fighting each other.
swear. It's awful.
Yeah, they say horrible things to each other. They make us look like innocent saints.
Yes, indeed.
So speaking of Santa and this wonderful song, I want to know, have you ever heard a Christmas carol that goes, oh yeah?
No.
It was the Macho Man Randy Savage singing Silent Night.
Okay, that would be it. Somehow I don't think it was a nice happy caroler singing it.
No, but
I
that's
don't know where
another,
that lyric comes from.
another good point that maybe that relates to your song, because like everyone who is celebrating Christmas is super excited and happy, like, oh yeah, it's Christmas time, you know. So maybe little Jimmy.
Maybe Jimmy is Jim McMahon from WWF, and he was naughty, and so that's why he only gets a box of cereal.
I thought it was Jimmy Page because Steven didn't want to say Steven, so same last name.
Oh, see, nice.
Or it could be Jim from the band. But he would get a new instrument. Like his family would get him a new electric bass or something. Like they'd get him something interesting.
I was talking to Justin about this last night because I was like, I want to know if there's something I'm missing here. Maybe there's some background I'm missing with this. And his statement was, maybe it's kind of an ironic kind of look at all the different Christmas carols that start with O. So you like, oh come all you faithful, oh holy night.